You dumb mother. Yeah. All right. The podcast has begun on a Wednesday night. Petro's back after a great vacation. From what I heard, we'll get a recap on his vacation.
Are you being an ass, or are you trying to
in Florida? No, I want to hear about the Panhandle. I want to hear about the Panhandle. But our worlds collided when I was gone out of town. I didn't even realize what was going on. Maybe I had an inkling, but who knew? Who knew it was going to happen? Las Vegas and Kansas City, Las Vegas and the KC area, Las Vegas and Missouri, intertwined when you least expect it. Crazy, man, crazy. Have you had Desiree Reed-Francois on the program yet? Does she have the stamp of approval? Will you put her over with the Mizzou crowd?
I don't know. What does put her over mean?
Like in wrestling, like do a little work, make her popular, make her a heel, one way or the other.
I see what you're saying. No, I have not. We played a lot of excerpts. The introductory press conference was this morning. We played a number of excerpts.
Okay.
That was strong. That was strong.
Which part? The excerpts or just my reaction?
I like the excerpts. No, but Brady's reaction I thought was strong.
Yeah, that was good.
We'll deliver. Don't worry. But no, listen, I thought I find one of the most important things, like I'm fascinated by hiring coaches, hiring general managers, hiring ADs. These are the biggest decisions that are made in sports. And they're the most important because they control so much. And so I don't look forward to teams having to replace those things because usually something's gone wrong. I mean, somebody's had a bad go, but when it comes up, I thoroughly relish the entire process. And so I enjoy digging into it because it's a chance to really immerse yourself in the school. And for us here in KC, where we have KU, K-State, and Missouri, three, what are at least for now, Power 5 programs, it's a chance to really just, I've always said the Kansas City Star, if they run a story on Missouri, they will also run a story on K-State and Kansas. Right, they will not run just one. I'd have to look at the paper. I mean, everything's digital now, so I don't know how the paper looks when it comes out now. But maybe they just gave it to Mizzou because they were hiring an AD and there isn't really anything going on at the other two. But generally speaking, they will not run a story of one of the schools without running one of all three. I always say, listen, if you want that kind of diaper treatment, go to the Kansas City Star. I will talk about whatever is warranted. If there's nothing to talk about at the other two schools, we won't talk about it. It was a chance. We spent our whole first hour on Mizzou. And this, to me, it was a chance to really discuss where the Missouri football and basketball programs are, where they're going to go, whether or not this is the right person to lead them, and what are our expectations. Like, that's one of the things I always like to do. I joke around and say in the program, we are proactive and not just reactive, right? So much of sports talk radio is Monday after a game and bitch and moan about the call that didn't go or the play call or the ref or whatever it is. So I love going through this. And I my favorite part of the exercise is what has to happen at Missouri for her hiring to be considered a success. And I put that out there and lay it out for the audience. And then all the guys, me and Steve or me and Jed and Curtis lay out what it is. And I'm going to tell you, for me, she has to take Missouri to a Final Four. And if she does not either stand behind Cuonzo Martin and go to the Final Four and cut down a net with Cuonzo Martin, or if she doesn't replace Cuonzo Martin and go get a new coach and take Missouri to the Final Four, someplace they have never been, then her tenure is a failure. I have said for about a decade now, priority number one at Missouri has to be getting to a Final Four. It's not, and I don't blame the fan. They've got plenty of fan base, plenty of support. The fans are fantastic, and they support their team. And people be like, well, I looked at Mizzou Arena on a Wednesday and wasn't full. Yeah, the team's not that good, right? I mean, they always talk about the program is like it's the only Division I, only Power 5, program in the state of Missouri, only Division I football program in the state of Missouri. It's in between two major metropolitan areas, all these advantages it have. And then they talk about, well, it's 2 hours from St. Louis and Kansas City. That's why we don't have any fans in the building during a basketball game. And I think the reality is, certainly during the week, on the weekends, it's an easier trip to make. But I think if you had a team that was consistently, top 20 And many times in the top 10, you'd have a packed Mizzou arena. And I think there's no excuse for the Missouri administration to be fielding an athletic program in the SEC that has never been to a Final Four. It's not as hard as Missouri makes it look. And that's what she has to do, priority number one. Because one of the debates we got into was, and I asked the guys, and Jed and Curtis were like, well, she's got to maintain football. I said, like, well, what? You mean 500? Because that's what Eli Drinkwoods was. No. And they basically I ended up pinning him down to the definition of maintaining football is going back to what Gary Pinkel was, which was 4 division championships, 4 conference championship game appearances, 4 losses, but 4 conference championship game appearances over, I think, whatever his I think it was 4 and 14 years or something like 4 and 19 years, something like that. I was like, okay, I don't think it's happening. And because when you have, you're looking at probably ending up in a pod with Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. I mean, think about this worst case scenario for Missouri scheduling in football. If the pod thing comes about, they're 3 in their pod and 2 from the other ones. Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, LSU, Texas A&M, Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Georgia. There's your 9-game SEC worst case scenario schedule for Mizzou. So I think it's going to be tough in football now with that league, but I think what is going to measure her success is going to be, one, maintaining football to whatever degree you want to call maintaining it, but having a successful football program and then getting to the Final Four for Missouri. And I always think that's entertaining to sit and break down and think forward. Say, okay, let's set what the yardsticks are that she's got to reach. And if they don't reach it, then that's not a success. And I don't think there's been a successful Missouri athletic director. Mike Alden hiring Gary Pinkel was a success, but Mike Alden couldn't get basketball right. So, listen, I think success is not just like pretty good or he was okay. Success is going out and having success. And I don't think an Elite Eight by Mike Anderson, an Elite Eight by Quinn Snyder, but ultimately those guys leaving, one by firing and one by leaving for your rival in Arkansas, I don't think that can be considered a success. So I don't know who the last successful athletic director was at Missouri.
What about Hound Dog? Why is the Final Four bigger than like one great football season every 4 years?
What is a great football season? Is it going to get your ass handed to you in the conference championship game?
Yeah, 10 wins make the championship game compete.
Curtis pointed out that in their 4 division championships, right, 2 in the Big 12 and 2 in the SEC, guess this. How many top 10 teams did Missouri beat collectively in those 4 years?
11.
4.
I'm guessing it's very low.
4.
What? That's it?
4 in 4 years.
Right.
1 year was the year that they and Kansas met as 1 versus 2 at Arrowhead Stadium. And what has to be considered a fluke year. K-State down, OU down, Texas.
Well, you say it all the time in these conferences. If some of the big boys are down, then schools like Mizzou can slip in.
They have to. Right. They have to be there. They have to be the consistent 8-win, 8+ win team that, lags back to 7 or 6. But they have to be consistently ready to be an 8+ win team. And when those around them trip up, then you step in and fill the void. And that's what Missouri did. And that's Gary Pinkel was able to do that. He ran into Oklahoma twice in the Big 12 and Alabama and Auburn in the SEC and, lost by double digits. So, is that success? Listen, I think nowadays, here moving forward, that'll be success for Missouri when you think about.
Well, it's a ridiculous conference. Yes.
The best case scenario schedule is for Missouri in a 9-game, this is the expectation. ESPN reporting that a potential pod system in the SEC could be out there. Yeah, well, since ESPN's the one that engineered everything that's going on, I would think their sources are good.
What?
Yeah, Kentucky, the best case scenario would be Kentucky, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, Mississippi State, Texas, OU, Arkansas. That's the best case scenario. In reality, you're probably never going to get the best or worst case scenario. There's just going to be really deep water that has to be navigated just to get to however they're going to make that conference championship game work.
What's better, number 15 in football or Final Four?
I think Final Four. The Final Four is like getting to what now is the 14 playoff. And look at the diversity of the Final Four compared to the quantity of schools that have actually made the college football playoff right now. Now it's going to expand to 12.
It's realistic, and there's upside to get there. So, and actually, that should be the demand of almost any fan base in basketball in the Power Five. That you should be able to make an Elite Eight or a Final Four every once in a while. It was pretty open last year.
I mean, to me, that has to be Missouri has to achieve new grounds, right? New uncharted territories. And the Final Four is something that most schools, frankly, have made. Not one time.
Right.
Not one time. There was a stat. Again, I'm not knocking this on the fan base. They had never won I don't think they won one single men's Big 12 championship the entire time they were in there. And they won, was it volleyball? I can't remember what, or softball maybe. They had at one point 0 national championships ever in any sport ever until like softball won like 15 years ago or something. It was finally one of the women's sports broke through. I think it was a women's sport, broke through and won. They had never even they didn't have a fencing championship. They didn't have. So I think that speaks to the job that she took. Is yes, an SEC job. Yes, a Power 5 job. Yes, the only Power 5 school in the state. Yes, between 2 major metropolitan areas. But to this point, has been able to be good to very good, whatever you want to describe their highest moments of football under Gary Pinkel and basketball under Norm Stewart, but yet to be great. And the rest of the programs reflect that as well.
So does that stuff matter? Because I think you'll see improvement in some of those Olympic sports.
You think, are you saying she's good at those Olympic sports is what you're getting at?
Yeah, I think she's pretty solid at that. So
does that stuff matter? Big picture? No. Oh, I mean,
it's nice though. It's nice, it's nice to have good graduation rates. It's nice to, put solid teams out there in the Olympic sports.
I mean, I tell me, does do you disagree?
Oh no. I think it's part of the job, but obviously it's not the part of the job that people concentrate on. I mean, most UNLV people, when they judge DRF, as we call her, they have no idea of what any of the Olympic sports did. And, any coaches that she hired that were good, they have no clue. All they see is a football program that is struggling and a basketball program that seems to be changing coaches every 3 years.
I think those sports are important from the standpoint that the better they do, the more money they make, the less they take from football and basketball.
Right.
I mean, I think you should take pride in those sports.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the sports are irrelevant, giving scholarships out to get students on campus and give them a great experience. We had lacrosse played at a high level at my school, and that was fun to go to. I can honestly tell you, though, I did not attend one other event other than football, basketball, and lacrosse. So for my experience at Syracuse.
God damn it, man.
I take that back. Women's basketball. I called women's basketball.
Fucking Syracuse radio. Do more sports.
I called women's basketball.
Let these kids do more sports. I did soccer. I called a soccer national title game. Rutgers didn't win it, but it was a good game. UCLA.
Peter Vermees on that team?
No, he was a little older.
Okay.
He was a little older. Yeah, they lost to a UCLA team with Kobe Jones, who's pretty well known, and like Joe Max Moore and some other guys who were World Cup hopefuls. So anyway, but it would, whatever.
So what's your prediction? You covered her for 4 years. How would you define success at Missouri? What would you say she has to accomplish? What boxes have to be checked, or a major box?
Yeah, I like the basketball standard. I think the basketball program needs to get better, and there's upper mobility in the SEC. It's not an impossible conference to win in. So, yeah, they need to make a Final Four. I think they need to consistently make the NCAA tournament now. I think football needs to be – how many teams are in the SEC total now? What is it? It's 14?
16 when Texas and OU come in.
So, 16. So, be nice to consistently be –
4 years of 14.
Yeah. Be nice to be consistently in the top half, overall. I don't know about this pod system, but I think they should have a winning season every season, and they should have – like I said, I think every 4th or 5th year, fire towards a 10-win season. And there's a lot of stuff that ADs do that people don't see. I think she was a pretty good fundraiser at UNLV, and I don't think she had to get in the muck with some of the not so hot to trot with boosters, right? I think she cleaned that up a little bit. Some of those people got way too much power before she got here. I know Adam Hill was on with you on WHB, and she was in a weird spot because I think she wanted a new football coach sooner than she got one. So her football coach hire, I think, is going to be a good coach, but he got effed badly last year by COVID, and it didn't work out. So I don't think you judge her on that. The basketball thing is really weird because, I mean, is it a failure if you hire a coach and he's gone to the Big 12 in 2 years? Did you fail? I mean, he wasn't winning the second year, but she hired a guy that was obviously coveted, so she did okay at basketball. But okay is not good enough. At UNLV, they want to get back to a point where they make the NCAA tournament every year.
I Missouri fans will say, and I tend to agree, that they really have it right with Eli Drinkwoods, and I think he's going to be good. At 5-5 his first year, albeit with some good wins. I can't say that okay, this is they're ready to stand toe to toe with Florida and Georgia, but I do think they're headed in the right direction. I think that day may arrive. Can she get along with someone she didn't hire who's having great success in the biggest sport?
I think she can get along with Konzo Martin, but I think you've pointed out
there's Eli Drinkwoods.
Oh, Eli Drinkwoods. I'm sorry.
Konzo Martin, she was supposedly part of the team that hired him and had glowing things to say about him and his family, although did not talk about his wins and losses.
Yeah. I think she's on the side of Konzo, but you pointed out in the past, and we were mentioning it, that Konzo seemed to have his name in like 6 different searches this last time around. So is he really the long-term guy if he's always looking elsewhere? Now, that said, she's been looking elsewhere for about a year and a half. So it's like, what is she going to lecture him? She was in the running for the UCLA job. She was in the running for the Northwestern job, which obviously are, by the way, that I think that's also interesting that those are really, Mizzou is a pretty good academic institution. Maybe not as good as UCLA, certainly not as good as Northwestern. So it's interesting that this is the one she really went for. But yeah, on Drinkwoods, listen, some of the stuff I heard about her, she runs a pretty tight deal with the athletic department. Pretty tight ship. She can get maybe a little too involved. I heard complaints, behind the scenes about her being a little too involved, to the point where the basketball coach and the football coach were getting annoyed. So we'll see how that works out. I don't think she's going to go in and start rattling cages of Eli Drinkwoods. I'll guarantee you that's not going to work. So, but she's a super smart lady. She's a good people person. I mean, I'm very cynical. I'm not always sure that, she's not playing you a bit, but for most people, I'm not saying I'm super smart. I'm just super cynical. I think it works on most people, so I think it'll work there. And Brady had a question earlier. I don't know. He said, "Is there money to be had in Missouri?" I assume there's money to be had everywhere. I think if they need to raise more money, she'll be good at raising money. She is good with people. She is good around, multi-millionaires and billionaires to get money out of them, because she actually did get a lot of good donations. And I'm sure Adam told you that she came into UNLV when the funding was just about complete on their new football facility, Soren, right? And that was the money from the Fertittas. Well, the Fertittas guy was Tony Sanchez. I don't think she liked Tony Sanchez from the get-go, but she was like, hey, means to an end, I got to get this freaking facility done. So he was around for another year, and the second the facility was done, I think she was like, thanks, Lorenzo and Frank. Time to move on, so she can be cutthroat too. That, I'm guaranteed, that was not fucking popular at all, but she stretched it out, so she got the school what they needed and got that thing finished, because the facility was originally budgeted for like 30 or 33 million. It wound up going over 40 million, and they needed a little more money to push it across the finish line. And she didn't really mess too much with the situation until she had a chance to mess with it. And then Sanchez was out on his ass.
That says to me she's smart and calculating. That's what I heard. I heard some people say, well, she sounded nervous today. And I'm like, I don't know.
She is not a good press conference person at all.
Well, I think she's
even pressers when she was here for 3 years,
right?
She still was not. She gets so wound up and she's trying so hard that was not one of her strengths. And I'm not bagging on her because there are a lot of ADs who stink at it. but she is never going to blow away people in that big setting. She'll impress people in, a small setting or a one-on-one.
I described her as calculating. I heard someone who was constantly editing what they were saying in their head and thinking, does this serve the greater good? Am I stepping on a toe? Am I doing this the right way? Adam used the term political, that she's very political, which I think you have to be in that position. And so I heard somebody that was calculating throughout the press conference. And I actually said, we were talking about, did she win or lose the press conference? Not that will determine whether or not you're a success in the job, but it will determine how you get started. I felt like she won the press conference. She took a little jab at Texas and Oklahoma and saying, what do you think about them going to the SEC? And she's like, well, I'm glad they decided to follow Missouri's lead, and take the shot there, which I think may have been prepped for her, but I don't care. Right. She took it all in. She knew it was the show me state and, all those kind of things. She seemed to have done a little homework on what it is that the fans want to hear. And, she's got to win with her base, which is Missouri fans. Those are the people she's got to get money from. And I thought she did it. Now, most of the guys around me are like, nah, I don't think. Like Jed Calder, he said he was whelmed. He was neither over nor under, but he was whelmed.
I think if you guys have her on and she actually gets to know you a little bit, now I have the benefit. I mean, Vegas is a very small town. You guys are about the same size, but like Missouri's not right there. So you guys cover a lot of different things. I don't know how close you're going to get to her. Once she gets to know you, she's a good ball buster in radio interviews. She'll take some jabs at you. I know she'll like you on interviews. She'll get better, but she's not a great press conference person. And by the way, from Mark, I hope I didn't suggest that she was responsible for the facility fundraising. No, there was $25 or $30 million put up by the Fertittas. Then she came in. She needed to get it pushed across the finish line, and she wound up getting that done. No, but the Herculean effort was done by the Fertittas, who freaking just threw money at UNLV for the benefit of having their guy Tony Sanchez hired as a football coach, and he got time, and it just it didn't work.
And to her credit, it got done. She didn't screw it up.
Yeah, I'll give you a couple of things though with coaches. If there are any coaches who are fucking around, have issues away from their job, any of that stuff, and they're not winning, that'll be weeded out quickly. When this is just based on what I saw here, I don't know how much power she had in hiring at Virginia Tech and Cincinnati and Tennessee. And, she's a UCLA person. She's from Northern California. She's got a really good background at all these other schools. When she hires, she's going to hire energy and someone who does, present a good game, because all the coaches she hired were young. She will go 40-something or late 30-something. Now that's going to be more of the Olympic sports, and she probably won't have a chance to hire a football coach. And if she does, then Drinkwoods is going to be, he'll have unbelievable seasons. And it's like, can we keep him? Can we not? But she's going to go young.
We think that's our prediction right now.
Yeah, she's going to go young. And it'll be interesting. I have no idea who the big boosters are. I don't know how she's going to manage that. I don't know if there are any people who are a little bit, dirty around the program. For the most part, she's going to try to make sure that you're running a clean program. And,
by the way,
UNLV had some issues, and she tried to weed that out as quickly as possible. And that's why, by the way, she fired the men's basketball coach after 3 years. And Marvin Menzies, actually, I thought was on the upswing and had a good roster coming back in his next year. But there was stuff around Marvin that was making her nervous. So she was like, I got a chance to pull the plug. It's getting pulled.
If there are anybody around the Missouri program that's not on the up and up, they're not very good at it.
Right.
I mean,
well,
the recruiting, there's no, why is the number 5 guy in the country in basketball coming to Mizzou? That is not happening. Right. How do they get this, the number 1 running back in the country to go to Mizzou from Louisiana? That is not happening. So if they're doing it, they're not good at it.
Jason, which one's a stepping stone job? UNLV? Always at risk at whomever you get. Or is Mizzou a stepping stone job?
Well, we've debated that about what is the Missouri program. And like I said, I think it's hard to achieve the kind of, Gary Pinkel's the most accomplished coach in the history of Missouri, the winningest coach in the history of Missouri. I mentioned 4 division championships. And I said there were after his first 2 years, there were 4 years that we weren't discussing whether or not he should be fired with Missouri fans. And those were the 4 years coming off his division titles. Otherwise, 2 years later, it was like, well, I don't know. What's Pinkel really won? What have they done? And he's the winningest coach in the program's history. So it's hard to, like, Drinkwoods. Pinkel was okay. He wasn't. Press conferences weren't a strength. They weren't a major weakness. He sounded like a coach and a leader. He had that kind of presidential feel to him, but he didn't wow anybody. Eli Drinkwitz has wowed them. He had better success than they thought he would have. And then he's funny and has every catchphrase, maximum input gets maximum output. I mean, he can rattle off cliches like it's nobody's business that are coaching cliches, right? But are the ones that all kind of make sense. They're all good little coffee mug mottos to have. And he fires them out there. And so far, the recruiting's on the uptick and the early returns are good. And he got decent quarterback play, which is what Gary Pinkel lived on. He said, we will always have a quarterback as long as I'm at Missouri. And I would say all but 1 year, he was absolutely correct. So, I think it's headed I think it's headed in the right direction football wise. And, you've got to try to feed that beast. But I also know, I think one of the things that's interesting, I'll get to that in a minute. I think one of the things that's interesting is Mun Choi, who's the president at Missouri, made the statement that, like, it's a new day at Missouri and there's going to be deep changes.
Yep.
And it all changes now. It's like, well, what are you getting at? And I think that to speak to what Hound Dog put up there,
yeah.
I think he feels, was that it? Like that, those were the problems. Like, okay, we're going to clean up this rogue tutor thing. We're not going to have those issues, or we're going to clean up the racial issue we had a number of years ago. That was a problem. Yeah. Or is he talking about, all right, boosters, get off your ass and get your checkbooks because she's coming for you.
Right.
I don't know. Like, we tried to put our arms around, what is he getting at there? And, or is he just trying to be like, hey, this is my big stage. I got to try to make a statement here as well. I don't know, but, he tried to, almost was like seemingly waving his finger at the fan base.
Yeah.
Saying it's a new day and it's a new approach. And so get ready. And I'm like, okay, well, get ready for what? I don't know. I mean, that might be, if we knew exactly what he was getting at on that, we might know what the edict is with which she was brought in. Is it clean up the rogue tutor stuff? There is some fringe stuff out there that he wants gone, and that's number one. Or is it like, hey, it's a new day. I'm not screwing around watching a basketball team go to the tournament once every 5 years to bow out in the first round. I mean, it can be taken a lot of different ways.
All interesting.
Oh, it's the best.
Yes, I love it. I'm disappointed to see her go, but as someone said earlier, not a big loss. It's a loss. I don't know if it's a big loss. I also don't believe anyone is irreplaceable, but there's also the flip side of it, that you could hire someone shitty following someone who's pretty solid and, completely botch the hire. So be careful what you wish for, UNLV fans. We'll see what they come up with.
I like what Brady said. Where does Missouri rank for AD jobs? 15, 20, 30? Where would you put it?
I mean, I'd be guessing because I don't know enough about Mizzou, but I would assume
outsider's view.
I would assume top 30. I mean, is that too generous? They're in the SEC. In 5 years, they're going to be getting $75 million a year, a payout from the SEC. So I mean, that's a nice budget to work with. And I don't know what their overall budget is, but man, that's a good start.
What's it going to take for her to get a second contract? Like, are we talking about how good is the job based upon what league they're in? Well, they're in the SEC, so it's one of the 16 best jobs. And, if that's the best league, you can say that. Okay.
I don't know about that because
I wouldn't answer that, but I'm saying there are those that would. Like, SEC jobs are all better than the other ones, except Vanderbilt. Okay. It's a state university, but then you go, well, it's not really near the best football talent, and so we're going to knock it down a little bit. We're going to bring it down. I mean, if you look at their success, they don't win anything.
Yeah. They
win some games, but they don't hang banners. They never have. So is that because of inept hirings and a university that doesn't understand how to back its sports department? I think yes. The answer is yes. Is that because it's a more challenging job than it appears? It's always been called locally a sleeping giant because it's one Division I program, two
We're all
areas.
all around sleeping giants.
Yeah, I mean, the two metropolitan area thing has been preached for 30 years. Well, when do you pick some fruit off the trees from that? Like it hasn't, like, it's not two major metropolitan areas that will run down and pack the house on a Wednesday night for a mediocre basketball team. It's not two major metropolitan areas that will give you a top 10 recruiting class just with local recruits. So like all that sounds good, but it's really just, local people trying to say, hey, we're great. We're better than, this is a great area. Well, it is. It's great for us to live, but where's the job rank? I think 40 is probably whoever put up 40 from Duluth. I think that's probably pretty accurate. Now I think it can be higher, but I think right now, you're going into, if she comes away and wins the SEC in football and basketball, unbelievable accomplishments. And how many schools would you be like, oh, if you get a conference championship, like I'm floored. Like is as an AD, is it better to be the AD at Mizzou staring up at what is very soon going to be a minimum of 8 programs? I mean, they're very excited about this year. And if you look at the coaches poll, they're basically picked 9th in the SEC. And they think this is going to be a really good year. Is that a good job? Is that,
it's hard. It's a hard job.
So what about this one? I think there's resources and there's support, but it's harder than people think.
What about this one in terms of dealing with reality? Is this true? Mizzou has never had a ton of in-state talent.
Mizzou has never done a great job. Gary Pinkel was doing a pretty good job of keeping the Missouri talent home, and Eli Drinkwoods has made that a priority. They always, generally speaking, Missouri has been able to keep good players, but always lose Zeke Elliott to Ohio State. And in basketball, it's way worse over in St. Louis. And where there was a lot of excitement was that Konzo Martin, being from East St. Louis, was going to be able to keep the St. Louis kids. But Bradley Beal and who's the other Florida? There's another Florida guy that went there, but Jahidi White went to Georgetown. Chris Carrawell at Duke. I mean, all the best guys would seemingly get away and end up at other schools. They never landed, when they would have an in-state guy, who was the popular bluff? Tyler Hansbrough went to North Carolina. McCollum, or was it Ben McLemore, went to KU. I mean, yeah, David Lee. Thank you. David Lee was the other Florida guy that went down there. Even Ryan Robertson, left and went to KU. So they've never, Jason Tatum, Otto Porter, here it all comes. Yeah. So there's tons of them, and they don't ever seem to get those guys.
Right.
But I think that the basketball names and the quantity of basketball names say that if you will fence in the state,
right,
then you can be, and supplement. And you're not that far now. Memphis isn't that far. It's any coach that give you the compass, like what's the driving distance for the kid and the family, and that's our circle. That we're going to be in. Memphis is in that circle, and there's great basketball talent down in Memphis. Now you got to battle Memphis and Arkansas for it, but I mean, you're on the radar screen. There's plenty of basketball talent around.
I was going to say, I'm not even sure you have to battle Arkansas anymore because I don't think he's going to recruit more than like one freshman in a class.
You would have to battle Arkansas for a premier talent, though. I agree. It's going to be a different deal, but if there's a top 10 recruit, Arkansas is going to be all over him. If there's a tradition of winning, I'm talking about the West Memphis area, which has been a very hot talent bed.
Right.
But it's not far. You ought to be able to get in there. Hire a guy that's better than the two coaches at Memphis and Arkansas, and you ought to be able to win some of those battles. So, yeah, I think that's why I come back to basketball is by far the bigger disappointment. I get the built-in challenges with football, but the basketball, there's no excuse for not being better.
By the way, Brady, this is absurd. There is more than, just the surface with an AD job. Come on.
What I mean, like what
number 8 SEC school or number 3 in the Pac-12? I mean, I would consider the number 3 or 4 job in the Pac-12 could be what, Stanford or Cal. I think I'm working at Stanford or Cal, even though they're a fucking mess. Cal is. But there's also where you're living. There's lifestyle.
Well, how about the fact that
there's expectations.
This is now the 4th athletic director. I'll have to look up when Mike Alden. If you count Mike Alden leaving, Mac Rhodes coming and then leaving after 2 years, and then Stirk coming and leaving after like 4 years. It's like the 4th athletic director in like 7 years. I mean, is like you were talking about jobs for ADs, right? Not expectations, not resources, jobs for ADs. Getting your ass fired every 3 or 4 years, or firing ADs every 3 or 4 years, does not make it a good job.
I take Washington or Arizona. I take Oregon. UCLA is a mess, but I would still take UCLA. I would take USC. So
you wouldn't take the Oregon job?
I said Oregon. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oregon, USC, UCLA, Stanford, Cal, Washington, Arizona. Yeah, all over Mizzou. Yeah. I mean, part of it is as like the SEC is great, but it's a freaking bitch to win. Your two biggest, like, you also have to look at upper mobility. It's freaking difficult. And if you actually want to, if you want to work in an athletic department where they're like, hey, let's graduate kids, let's actually promote diversity, like that kind of stuff might be important to people too. It's not all we have to win at football and we will do everything to win at all costs. And that, that means we'll get dirty if we need to. Some people don't want to do that as an athletic director. Now, obviously, Arizona, come on, they've been dirty forever. So now that right now, that's not an easy AD position because they're a mess. And, ASU is in the soup right now too. So,
I mean, look, they're all challenges. There are challenges of being at OU and Alabama as well. I mean, when you have to replace, Lincoln Riley or Nick Saban, you damn well better get it right. So there are challenges everywhere. But this is what she, as you pointed out, has seemingly wanted, and she's got a chance to prove herself.
It's not her home region, but it is a region I think that she really likes. Because I know in talking to them, like a couple of times just breaking some bread with her, and her husband's really cool guy. Her son he's a really smart kid. I don't know what he's going to do, but he's a really
journalism. I heard was
I mean, I don't think I dropped it on the podcast with you and I think I dropped it 2 weeks ago. I said her son was accepted to Mizzou, so I did drop that hint a couple of weeks ago that he had gotten in. But they when I talked to them, off the record, and it wasn't anything like secret, they seemed to talk a lot about their experience at Tennessee. Like they like the SEC. So the family had good convos and memories, and and I know there were, the UNLV situation is really weird. People, when they come in from the outside, they have no idea what it's been like here and how hard it is now to sell tickets. And it's gotten even worse. The expectations here are high. The negativity with the football program is through the freaking roof. Now we've got the Golden Knights. Now we've got the Raiders. We've got all these major league sports. So it's a hard job to freaking sell tickets. So
I agree.
Now they've got a new football stadium. I hope they can do well and, at least get whatever off an 0-6 season, get 30,000 people in at much cheaper prices than Raider games. So we'll see if it's in the right direction. But I think when people come here, they're a bit flummoxed. They're like, wait, this is the local school. Why don't people buy tickets? Well, Vegas is, and I know this is the excuse used all over the West Coast. There is a lot of competition for the entertainment dollar. And people here, and I know people rip on the Vegas Golden Knights fans, but unless you're really good or you're like a really hot commodity or the NFL is just a fucking monster, you got to win or you don't sell tickets here, man. People are busy. They got plenty of things to do. You don't win. You want to call them front runners, I guess you can. I think it's a good sports city because they're not going to buy shit.
So I think if what gets you the next job, is it building a great football program? Is it easier to build a great football program at Missouri or at UNLV? Right? Like, I think you've got a better chance of recreating Boise State at UNLV than you do turning Missouri into Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a believer, but the track record has been so poor here. It's almost sounds stupid to say.
Listen, the bottom line is what all of us let's quit shitting around it. I mean, all of us sitting here, how would we do it? Which one pays more?
Yeah.
I mean, that if you want to get to it, Missouri's going to pay more.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, anyone, and yeah, it's a no-brainer. Do you know what's her salary? Do you know?
I don't yet. They haven't released it yet. I don't think they've got the contract done, but when they get it done, it'll be public record because they're a state school.
I thought she got boosted to like 450 here. I thought that was the deal with she got an extension out till like 2026. So
if she's not seven figures,
yeah,
I want to say Jeff Long at Kansas was 1.5. And so if she's not seven figures, then cost was part of the equation.
Yeah.
I think Gene Taylor at Kansas State might be 800, 850. So, and I'm not sure where Travis Goff, who got hired at Kansas now, is. Looking at 900. Okay. I mean, that's probably, with no Power 5 experience, that's probably a fair salary. And with the expectation that if you're having success, they'll tear it up and add to it very soon.
Right. Brady saying it got announced at 950.
Okay. Well, nice job, Brady. All right, that's the bottom. Like, if we were to look at it as almost everyone who can hear our voices right now, or will ever hear our voices with this broadcast, which one pays more? I mean, that's what, as an individual, you're looking to get paid. And I tell people that all the time. Look, at some point, what you get paid matters.
Yeah. Yes.
You can be like, well, I'm doing it because I like this and I like that. All right. At some point, you're not retiring off, I enjoy the job.
Right. And these are transient positions. So they, they flip over every 4 or 5 years. You have a good run. Maybe you make it 8 or 10. So. All right. Good deal on that.
I'm good. I'm good.
Want to watch a little TV showdown?
I do. I do, because I didn't see this.
Let's see. Mute myself for a second.
Steve, going after I was going to fill for you. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
You're muting yourself for a second. I'm like, I should fill. Because he's getting it ready. I did not hear. Steve asked me, he's like, does Jenny get fired for this? I think that's an interesting way to put it.
Well, I said we'll skip fire Jenny.
Yeah, we'll skip fire Jenny. So I'm looking forward to this. Is Skip Bayless, the pillar of ethics and journalism.
All right. So let me set up Scott. I don't think Lon Kruger's taken over. He retired. He wants to be retired. There's so much more that goes into the AD position than just running, being in charge of the football program and the men's basketball program. I don't think that's not what he wants to do. So, and I yelled at Adam Hill and indirectly at other people in media whose first angle on Lon Kruger was, does he want to take the job? I mean, what if he has to fire his son, Kevin Kruger? I'm like, that's the first thing you fucking think of. Who cares? Like, I don't even know how that's in this.
Well, number one, he's not. He won't fire him.
Yeah, I'd have to ask that at a press conference, and he's like, "Well, legally, I don't know if he." I'm like, "All right, if that's the best angle you come up with, and I don't think Lon Kruger is going to be qualified for the gig, man. Come on." So let me set this up. Did you watch Hard Knocks yet?
I have not. I was actually going to watch it because I know you love to talk about it, and then I fell asleep after an episode of Clone Wars with my daughter. And I was like, okay, I'll set my alarm and just get up later.
All I'll say is, I knew going in, Mike McCarthy was not going to be a great subject that would get you fired up. Like, I love watching Hard Knocks because I love coaches. I love the football environment. Right. I said I do the same bit, but it's not a bit because I get naturally fired up. I would love to run a radio show, and I would love the radio station to run like a fucking football program. So, throw me into a fucking locker if you want to, coach. But I will rip my teammates' heads off when I feel like it. Okay? And we're not going to be pussies. There's no patting on the head. Hey, you can't talk to people. No, let's go. What's the name of the podcast? I don't have it up right now, right? But that's football. That's football, right? We're not fucking around here. Okay?
Sure.
That's football. And I know you would love to run a staff like that as well. And you'd love to see the radio station operate that way.
There are people that accuse me of having done that.
Oh, well, right? So I get jacked up every year, but I know there's certain coaches, like not every head coach is going to be fire and brimstone guy and speech guy and inspirational guy, right? There's going to be some assistants who do that. But I knew going into this one, I'm like, my God, Mike McCarthy's a lump. He is just a lump. I'm not going to get fired up. He's going to annoy me. And it was even worse than I thought. I almost felt like Jerry Jones, like why he would do this, because he makes himself look like an ass for hiring him. Like Jerry Jones as the executive producer of Hard Knocks. In the end, Cowboys get, a lot of final say on the stuff. Like, it almost seemed like Jerry Jones, like if those are the clips you picked out from Mike McCarthy, Are you trying to sabotage him? Are we setting up a firing midseason? He sucked. And he doesn't inspire, hey, there's the coach, there's a commander. And some of it is, and you guys, and listen, this was the retort I got. Hey, does Andy Reid look like that? Well, Andy Reid may look a little bit sloppy, but he's got equity. And you know from being around him, like, he is a boss. Like, he's a boss. He can look like he's lumpy and dumpy. So long setup.
He's a big former offensive lineman.
Yeah, and
so his presence, his physical presence.
McCarthy is too, but it's just like he's just dressed shitty. It's just, I don't know. There's something about him. It's like you don't even know he's the head coach when he's walking around.
Well, I think it's the delivery. I think Andy Reid will glare you down, right? I've upset Andy Reid and had to catch the fire. And you take it, you listen to it. I mean, he's also got the success. I mean, Mike McCarthy's got a championship, for crying out loud, but Andy Reid has the presence. I mean, when he walks into the room, you're like, oh, that's the guy, right? He doesn't walk in going, oh, is it my turn to talk? He walks in and everyone knows it's his turn to talk.
So I absolutely, when I take notes every Hard Knocks, because Adam and I go crazy for like 2 days after recapping everything, soup to nuts, right? I won't spoil it for you. Watch it, but McCarthy doesn't look like a commanding figure, doesn't command respect, is one of my angles. And some of it is based on appearance, right? Okay. So Skip Bayless is on his show with Shannon Sharp, and Jenny Taft, I guess, is the lead on the show. And Skip went with the angle, like, I wouldn't want that guy leading my program. He looks like a slob. He looks slovenly. And something, like, you can tell something is built up with her. And this is not an easy job when you're the lead on the show. You're there to be a traffic cop. We really don't care about your opinion by design. That's the way the show is set up. So I guess Skip said, hey, I wouldn't want the guy running my organization. He looks sloppy. And then she got all pissed off.
Well, I don't think that's a fair shot.
Is everyone who's a good coach as fit as you, Skip? I don't think that's a fair shot whatsoever.
I said it was a personal preference. I wouldn't want him to be my head coach.
That have not had the perfect ideal physique, including my college coach. So I don't think that's a fair shot.
Okay.
And I'm allowed to have an opinion, Skip. I am allowed to say whatever I want to say on this show, as you do too. Chris Broussard will join us and he will react to Westbrook's comment, and maybe I have more to say next.
Yes.
Okay, there's a lot there. And I actually think afterwards, I think Jenny Taft probably got a talking to and was told apologize.
You during the break, and are we gonna? What do you got more? Where she goes back and
I'm saying after the show. Now, most people.
I'll give her credit.
I'll just tell you, most people hate Skip Bayless so much that they were like, "Yeah, you go, Jenny. Great job." I didn't view it that way.
Well, I do. I'm not saying she's right. I know what you're getting at. Like the show is set up that he's the star. And so you do not want to, like, listen, you asked me, as a fan, what's my perspective? Yeah, you go, Jenny. Because the guy's a horse's ass, in my opinion. And from his burner accounts, fluffing him on the side, which he's been busted with, to his asinine takes where he just takes on whoever is the biggest name in whatever sport at that time and then tries to, drag them down. I think it's a formulaic, plan that sucks. I mean, I really don't think he knows anything about sports. And I don't get it. I don't even think his he's saying that to be controversial. Yeah, but it's dumb. Right? The idea that LeBron is terrible is dumb. You want to say Jordan's better? I'll listen to you. Right? That there's something to stand on, but he acts like LeBron is like a hindrance and a problem and all these things. He's Patrick Mahomes became one of his whipping boys, right? After he didn't win in 18, he had to shut up in 19. But let's be honest, if Mahomes doesn't win a Super Bowl this year and he loses in the Super Bowl again with his entire offensive line banged up, he'll be all over bombing Patrick Mahomes because that's what gets him the maximum attention. There are certain people in the media that it's just about bringing attention upon themselves, which is what Skip Bayless is. So as a fan, I'm all for it. Now, that show gets no ratings, as I understand it. I don't get why he keeps getting more and more money, but they do keep giving it to him. So the Fox believes he's a star.
Right.
And you do not want somebody beating down your star, and certainly doing it with such vigor that, to me, he wanted to crawl in a hole. I mean, I think she showed him to be the whimpering puppy that he really is. Somebody actually stood up to his ass, and he shut it down.
Well,
now, I get it's a tough spot. What do you want to do? Yell down a woman on TV in these era? No, not smart. But if you're going to be the badass, then you got to be the badass.
Yeah, that's the problem, and that's why, like Brady saying he came off as super sexist. No, I think that's about all he can do. And I loved his response when she's like, "I'm going to say whatever I want," and he's like, "No."
Yeah, but that's why.
By the way, Stephen A. does the same thing. Like, we've talked about it on our local show. Stephen A. basically has told Max Kellerman, "Shut the fuck up. When I want to get rid of you, you're gone." He has done it repeatedly, and Molly Karam never goes at Stephen A. She goes at Max because she knows Max is going to be gone eventually. She knows what's going on. And believe me, Skip is very easy to root against. But Skip's angle that, hey, a fat ass is not someone I want to be my CEO, that's reality. A lot of people think that way. Appearance count. By the way, you're all on TV.
It's not reality. It's an opinion.
Let's see what happens when the entire panel balloons up another 100 pounds. Let's see how it works out for you.
Well, listen.
It's part of the deal.
Yeah, right. A couple of things here. One, it's not reality, right? It's his opinion, because Andy Reid has never been in great physical condition, and I think maybe every team, including the Patriots, would take him to run their operation.
Andy Reid is a terrible example because he's got so much under his belt.
He's not terrible, but he was a fat ass when he was hired, Steve.
But he was also hired in the era when I don't think it was as important, when you had big titted Bill Parcells as the guy of the 80s. You had, come on, appearance wasn't as important. People are so much more vain now.
I don't know. Is it more important now? Like in football, we're talking about. It's always been important in television, right? Like, it's always been important in television. The face for radio thing is real. Like, I always wanted to go into radio, and I do some TV here and there. But let's be honest, they're not hiring me because I'm a fat ass, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's reality of it. I'm at peace with it right now,
right,
because it's never been my main focus. Maybe I'd have a different view if I was like, listen, I can do SportsCenter better than any of these jackasses, but they just don't like that my suit gets all bubbly because I'm a short jackass. I mean, like, you don't wear a suit like a tall thin guy wears a suit. But look, I think there is something to the appearance part of a visual medium, right? If it is Tom Cruise going to be played by, the fat kid in The Little Rascals? Like, no, like Tom Cruise has. I mean, there's an element of that's what society wants to see. But a couple of things here. So I'll disagree with you. Like, yeah, maybe appearance is more important now, or maybe now more people are waking up to the fact that you need to be healthier, right? Like, and they're exercising more and they're eating right. And maybe the people that have the big jobs are affluent enough to afford good food. Let's be honest. I mean, healthy food is expensive. All right. Like, if you want to go out and buy organic and eat all great vegetables and the best meats and everything, it's a lot more than a box of mac and cheese or rice-a-roni. All right. So, maybe all those things are coming together to create the Sean McVays that are successful to a degree. He hasn't won a championship, but he's gotten his team to a Super Bowl. That there's going to be a lot more Sean McVay looking guys where it's like, wow, he's really bright and smart and does all that, and he has time to go work out. I think Andy Reid is what he is because Andy Reid isn't interested in working out. Andy Reid is interested in diagnosing the greatest football plays ever.
Right.
And so, but Andy Reid was hired at a very young age, before even being a coordinator, and he was a tub.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think, listen, I think you can want that, and I think that's one of the reasons why Skip Bayless is not an owner and not hiring people in powerful positions, because he doesn't know what really to look for. I think there's an element of, if you're a big fat shit, are you really organized enough to be organized and run an operation? And Kansas people question that with Mark Mangino, and they ran Mark Mangino off because he was fat. Period. End of discussion. There was plenty of them to line up behind him and be like, that fat shit. They came up with, he yelled at a ref at his son's high school game. He made the guys do bear claws. or bear claws, bear crawls.
What a Freudian slip.
No, Aaron Swartz, who I used to work with, did a great. He would do he did this impression, and he's like, "Oh, he's got him doing bear claws," and he would do all these fat jokes that he put in there with it. So that's why I had Swartz's deal.
Team now, everyone gorge on these goddamn bear claws. You can out eat me.
But at the end of the day, Mangino was not a conformist. He would speak his mind, and he was a giant badass. Yeah. But he was a very good football coach, arguably the greatest football coach in Kansas history. And he had one losing season, and they ran his ass. And they haven't pissed a drop since.
Yep.
Not one drop since they ran the guy. So Skip Bayless is wrong. I don't think it's a prerequisite, to be successful, to have, a guy that looks like a model out front. But to your point, I will give her credit because she's clearly a former athlete. She talked about her former coach. She's a former athlete. She's in good shape, and she's not a fat shamer. Right? Like, what are we doing here?
Well,
are we hiring successful coaches, or are we hiring models?
I mean, I will say, if she doesn't apologize to Skip, can she apologize to her coach, who she basically said was a fat ass? Do you think Liz Robertshaw approved of that one?
Would you, if you said, "Hey, I played for Andy Reid"?
Can you give me some credit for looking up the lady's name that she played?
I am impressed. I'll give you much love. Where did she play, and what sport was it?
She played lacrosse, which obviously there's a gigantic pool of female lacrosse players, so that's good. She went to BU, and she played for this Liz Robertshaw, and Liz was a little bit bigger. Now Liz is like she runs like the lacrosse association. She's one of the higher ups, like the U.S. Lacrosse Association. So, but I'm joking about that. She brought it up as an example. I would. I can't say I don't fat shame. I would defend everyone who's fat around me, but I also, as we've joked many times, I seem to have a penchant for hiring big people to slim me out on a radio show. But yeah, it would annoy me that you would just, you shouldn't just write someone off because of their.
But if Alex Smith went and said, if Alex Smith who's going to work at ESPN, and I don't think successfully, but is going to work at ESPN, if he were on that show and he said, "My coach Andy Reid is the greatest coach that ever was, and he's not in great shape," Andy Reid wouldn't be like, "What? What? You're shitting me." I mean, Andy Reid constantly makes fun of his size,
of course,
and now I'll say this. If Andy Reid has lost weight since he took the job in Kansas City, but right now he's in his low 60s. He's had a knee surgery, and he's currently out of practice wearing a circulation hose up to his knee on both legs.
Oh boy, that's not good.
Which has people going, how long is Andy Reid the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs?
Yep.
So to that point, like if you want to maximize your time, then listen. Part of the reason why I get my fat ass out there and walk and try to exercise and do those things is I'm trying to maximize my time for my family. I mean, at some point you got to do it. Then people live longer than fat people, period.
What?
It's a fact. You can look it up.
Damn you.
It's a fat guy saying it, so deal with it.
Yeah, so.
But do you think she'll be fired?
No, they can't. Skip screwed. So.
Do you think her contract won't be renewed whenever it comes up?
She could be
just turned over a number of times.
Yeah, I would say she'll be moved off the show eventually. If that's and you know what? Here's the thing. I've been in jobs where maybe my role was a little bit different, and if you don't like the role you're in, which in that case it's traffic cop. Those two are the stars, and you're not really. I don't think you're really supposed to be getting in an argument with them or siding with one of them. So I would assume that Skip behind the scenes is like, let's move on. We're not really getting along. It's not working the way it should work. So that happens. And apparently by the Twitter reaction today, she should have her own show and be a panelist like in 6 months. So,
well, that's the difference between you and I. I don't watch any of those shows.
I don't watch them, but I like watching the clips because like I've told you before.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm not a low-hanging fruit person, and Adam is impossibly not a low-hanging fruit person. Adam Hill does most of the shows with me, so I like to use those clips to get us going. Yeah. And there are times when Well, I mean, today I did agree with Skip that I think owners do consider appearance when they do interviews, and so it made for a good topic. I might not have thought of that, on my own, even though I did think, McCarthy looked like a slob. So,
put up NKC Chief real quick, if you would. I don't think he's ever. I will just say, and I said this today on the radio, I have been incredibly wrong at projecting media success for people in the past. I've also been right sometimes, but I didn't think Herm Edwards was going to be good, and I think he ended up being good. I always loved Herm off the air. And I got a chance to talk to him a lot off the air when he was the head coach of the Chiefs. And I love that. But Herm in front of the mic, I was always was kind of too shtickish. If he goes to that shtick and, is he really going to say something? But he would say some things. Oh, yeah. He would be critical of people. And I don't know that Alex Smith can be critical of people. I don't think you can do the job without saying that guy didn't get it done. That guy didn't do that play. Alex Smith is always number one. Anyone who won't let you finish a question is insecure about what you're asking.
Oh, wait, is that what happened?
Alex Smith will jump the answer without you finishing the question almost all the time. Yeah, right, exactly, yeah. Or you're like, hey, the game last week was, well, that's a game that we wanted to win, we wanted to be successful, but to me, that's I don't want to hear everything that's coming because I don't know that I can handle it. And I think there's going to be an expectation to have opinions. I think he might get by for a year or two with good-looking guy, recently played the game, came over the leg injury, all those things that are there. But 3 years, 4 years down the road, is he still going to be going, well, we'll see. Right? I call it the will. When people answer in the media, we'll see. Yeah, no shit. Time will roll on. I know we're going to see, but we're asking you what's going to happen. Have an opinion. Good, bad, right, or wrong. Have an opinion. And I worry that he'll be a we'll see guy.
All right. I don't want to judge until I see him.
You son of a bitch. What an asshole.
What?
You don't want to judge it. We'll see. That's what you just said.
Yeah. I didn't do that on purpose.
Yes, you did.
Shut up.
Well, what's your prediction?
I really don't know. I don't know enough about him. It's you have no clue until they get in there. One, if they're going to rip former players, right, or former teammates, and go after current players. And do they care enough about the job to actually prep? Are they going to do the work beforehand? Because we see a lot of them who are doing it. A lot of former athletes who just suck. They're resting on, what they think they know about football, and it comes across as really surface stuff. It's lame.
To NKC Chief's point, I think he's got a better chance of succeeding if he's in a booth. But when you're going to ESPN, there aren't many guys that are in a booth. Right? Yeah. For the most part, you're part of a panel discussion. And I think that requires you to have critical thinking and make critical comments, not just critical thinking, make critical comments. So, I think if he were alongside and just calling the action and saying, well, they're trying to get the vertical route going right here, but you can see the safety comes over the top. So now he's got to check down to the other one. I think he's got a better chance of being successful at that. When I hear ESPN, I hear part of the NFL shows and everything like that. And to your point, Adam, Mike McCarthy went to Baker University, which is in our area. And so from that standpoint, yes, I root for everybody local. I root for him. I also could tell you, I know people that have coached with him and been around him. And I think there's, I'm not putting him in the top 5 coaches, but coaching Aaron Rodgers isn't easy. See what's going on right now. And so I think Mike McCarthy has the ability to coach well and can be successful. I don't know that the Cowboys are the spot I'd put anybody to go prove it.
We love OJ. Love OJ.
Local. He's a local guy. It's like McCarthy's local guy.
Yep. Yeah, I was looking. Someone was making a point earlier about the low-hanging fruit shows that they do well on social media. Problem with these shows, they don't get ratings, but they get tons of clicks on YouTube. Actually, the last couple of days, if it's been NBA, Skip and Shannon are getting about 300,000 views in a day and a half. Interestingly enough,
the whole show or just some clip,
20, 15-minute clips. Funny enough, the quickie 30-second clip of Jenny Taft getting into the argument with Skip, it only has 13,000 views. So
No.
I guess people aren't that interested on YouTube. Yeah. Now, I'm sure the idiot who recorded it off of a TV and put it up on Twitter, that probably has 500,000.
Yeah.
Which I never understand, but
I like
quality, withstanding, I'm a sound quality guy.
I want to get that cut and maybe talk about it tomorrow.
All right. I can send it your way.
Yeah. I got people.
Our vast sound crew grabbed it. So
yeah, I got my vast sound crew. I'll put the work on that job. Should have it by Monday, no problem.
That's a good point too. A lot of blogs use this as content, so that's also why they get a lot of hits on Twitter. That's why it's important to put videos out of your show. It's very important. All right, one gambling note. Let me punch this up. I was surprised by. We were doing a Broncos preview yesterday, and I started looking at the updated numbers, and I'm like, wait, all the books still have the Broncos ahead of the Raiders in kind of the divisional alignment with the odds. Aaron Rodgers ain't coming. They moved all the numbers up. Move them all back. The Broncos are not good. Am I wrong?
I will tell you the PFF guys think that their roster is really good except for the quarterback, which is at least 51% of the equation.
Right.
So I heard my buddies Eric Eager and George Cheruri did a whole AFC and NFC, the ceiling and floor for teams. So like give you an example, the Chiefs ceiling was 15 wins. Their floor was 8 wins. Like everything goes right, 15, everything goes wrong, 8. And they said the Broncos had the narrowest window because the roster is deep enough to handle anything that goes down. But there's no quarterback to give them any ceiling. And so they had them tucked into this. I want to say it was like 10-8 or 10-7 wins. And so they had a much lower floor for the Raiders. Although they did say that there's no way the Raiders defense doesn't get better, right? The question is how much better. And so they're like, look, you have a quarterback and you have a pretty good play caller. You have a good quarterback, maybe not great, but a good quarterback and a pretty good play caller, and he's got weapons. The question is, will they block? And to Adam Hill made the point on my show when I asked him some Raiders stuff when we had him on about DRF to speak the Vegas language. He said, look, the guys are talking about everyone's worried about the Raiders having lost on the offensive line, didn't really play last year anyway. So, yeah, they're good players, but they didn't play last year. So counting, where they're going to be, like they haven't really lost that much from what actually played. So I am bullish on the Raiders. Like I like the Raiders over. I don't know that I want to get around the Broncos. Like what is the Raiders? Aren't they both 7.5?
No.
8.5.
This from BetMGM. Broncos win total has moved from 7.5 to 8.5. But you ready for this note? 77% of the tickets and 95% of the handle has come from Colorado. So thank you, Colorado. I will be betting under 8.5. Appreciate that.
They're 8.5. And what's the money? What's the line?
Under is plus 120. Raiders are 8. You got to shop this too because they're different at different places. Like I don't think DraftKings has really updated their numbers. That's BetMGM. Raiders are 8, but the under is minus 140. 8.5. Difference there too, obviously. But yeah, Broncos have actually moved up to 8.5.
Yeah, I would tend to say the quarterback's going to be the important part of the equation. But I do think, listen, I think people are saying Teddy Bridgewater won't lose the game, and they've got enough. I do think that they can pound the rock with the running game. And I think they can play defense. I think they can cover people. I think the Broncos are going to be a salty team. But to the point that, to quote, the PFF guys, you don't win games 16-13, and that's what the Broncos are built to do. You sure as shit don't win 12 games 16-13.
You also put yourself in harm's way when you're trying to win games 16-13, and Vic Fangio is your head coach. Because all those small decisions become really important. clock management, F-ups, ill-advised timeouts. Margin for error is a lot smaller when your coach doesn't know what the fuck he's doing on the sideline. Pardon my French.
He's a very good defensive mind.
Yeah.
His game management is not there at all. And his quarterback's not going to bail him out.
Maybe he'll get better, but yeah. And if you're going to Bridgewater, Bridgewater's not going to be a savior for you.
I think one thing I'll give the Broncos, I think in games that they are, and I'm going to bring up their schedule, and I know what the divisional schedule is, but I think in games that they're supposed to win, there's a decent chance that they win the games they're supposed to win now. Right? Does that make sense? That, Bridgewater won't screw it up. They'll have a decent game plan, at least on the defensive side of the ball. At Vikings, at Seahawks. Oh, no, those are preseason. Hang on. At Giants, at Jags, Jets.
Could be a good start.
Ravens, at Steelers, Raiders.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see a 5-1 there.
Oh, boy.
At Browns versus football team. At Cowboys, Eagles, Chargers, at Chiefs, Lions, Bengals, at Raiders, Chargers, Chiefs. The Lions and Bengals are clearly there. I don't know. The Bengals everyone's playing the Bengals. What's the other one? The Lions and what's their finisher in the AFC? Jets.
It's a pretty good group. By good, I mean winnable.
Is it it's the Jets, right?
Yep. You're leaning over.
I mean, the schedule. I think it's schedule driven. I think all the action on the over is schedule driven, and the fact that they think they have a quarterback that won't lose the game for them, and I don't think that's ridiculous. Like, how many wins do you think the Broncos are going to have? Like, I don't like betting unders that I think I'm going to win by a half.
Yeah,
6 or 7 overs that I think I'm going to win by a half.
6 or 7.
Okay. How do they have the Jags and the Jets? Am I missing something here? Oh, it's the 17th game. That's what it is. That's what I'm not used to. It's usually you only get one finisher. But no, that should be a crossover conference game, right? That must be the Lions. That's the Lions. Lions and
no, they have NFC East.
Jags and Jets are the finishers in the AFC, and the Lions are the NFC extra 17th game. So I think that plays. Although I think the Jets could be saltier than people think. What do you think, Steve? Jets fan?
I'm a wrong guy to ask. I'm not past Trevor Lawrence, so I don't know. I got to see this guy play until I believe it. I like the coach. I like the young talent they've collected on offense. I like that they drafted, another offensive lineman with the second first-round pick. So defense is going to be troublesome.
Defense is going to hurt, but I think the offense could be pretty good. I think Zach.
If Zach Wilson can do it, and honestly, one of the things I worry about, I'm not enthused to give out lofty predictions on teams that don't have their starting quarterback vaccinated. So I think that's a freaking crapshoot every week.
It's a fair point.
Every week you go into the weekend, you're like, is he available or not? I don't know.
The schedule gives me pause with the Broncos because I do think the roster is good.
Yeah.
But I mean, how different is the Raiders schedule?
I got to tell you right now, Renee, would you bid $1 on Zach Wilson in our league, which is a 12-team league?
Yeah, I would.
Wow. Okay.
Like, are you saying you don't think he's rosterable in a fantasy?
Not at the beginning.
I do, because I think he's going to start, and I think he might. He's going to run like Patrick Mahomes runs. He's getting a lot of comparisons to Patrick Mahomes lately, and I would say that at best he's diet Patrick Mahomes. But I think for that team, I think the blocking is going to be there are a lot of pieces to like with the Jets. And I don't think he's going out there. This is not, he's not taking a knife into a gunfight anymore, right? He may come up against the Chiefs and they've got a machine gun and he's holding a handgun, but I think he's I think the Jets are building a little something, and I think Salah should make him a lot better on defense. I kind of like the Jets. What's their over under? I like the over on the Jets.
6.5.
What is it?
6.5.
It's kind of high.
I think I'm right on that one. Am I wrong? Is it 5.5?
I thought it was gonna be like 5.5 because I'm getting ready to like start really studying that and have you or JB go put my bets in since I'm not coming out again this year. But Raiders, Ravens at Steelers, Dolphins at Chargers. You liking that first four? Bears at Broncos, Eagles at Giants. Eagles and Giants at Broncos. If you think they're bad, that's a good game. Bears have made the playoffs 2 out of 3 years, but usually around a 500-ish record. Chiefs, Bengals at Cowboys football team, at Chiefs, at Browns, Broncos, at Colts, Chargers. So they have the Colts where the Broncos had the Jags. They have, who's the like NFC finisher that's in there? They have the Dolphins where the Broncos have the Jets, right? Is that what we said?
Yes.
Okay. So how much tougher is that? Dolphins versus Jets in your mind?
Oh, it's tougher, but I think they can beat the Dolphins.
Okay. And the like NFC finisher is Eagles. No, Eagles, Giants football team. That's all NFC East. Cowboys.
The Bears are the
Bears.
Yep.
Bears where the Broncos have the Lions. All three games are tougher. I mean, I think it's schedule driven with the Broncos.
By the way, Jets are 6, over, even, under 120.
I'll take the rally around the first year coach over, but I don't think you get there like in mid-November.
Right. All right. I'm confident the Raiders are going to win 9 or 10 games. So
they handle better.
Yeah, and that of course. And I had them going when I first saw the schedule. I had them going 10-7. I may take a win away from them, but I'm also starting to think that the Ravens game is not an automatic loss with the way the Ravens preseason has gone so far. So,
in what way? You mean the COVID?
And the fact that Lamar Jackson got COVID for a second time. Won't say if he's vaccinated. I mean, obviously he's not. And I also, the news in on Rashad Bateman's not good. They've added weapons. Are they going to be out there for week 1? Bateman, if he is he up to snuff? Is Lamar Jackson vibing with Sammy Watkins? So I think the Ravens, I know you have your doubts about the Ravens too going in every year.
I do, but I think the Ravens are an exceptional organization. It starts with Lamar Jackson not being able to throw the ball.
Yeah. And I also think don't ignore the fact that that first game for the Raiders, whatever people want to say that you're going to have some fans in from out of town, that first game here on a Monday night is going to be insane. So I'm not saying it's 3 more points advantage for home field, but it's going to be crazy. So
what is the spread?
It's now 4. It was 6 at some places. As high as 6.
Ravens favored, right?
Yeah, Ravens favored. So
I like the Raiders and the points at 5.5. Like, I love that. I love the tease down lines. So, yeah, I'll take me some Raiders on that.
Got to make sure Darren Waller's going to play because that's getting a little nerve-wracking. He's been out 8 days now.
That is nerve-wracking. They do need him. That is huge. But what all did the Ravens lose? Judon, Orlando Brown? I mean, they're a machine, and they just kind of lock and load. But
their left tackle's coming back off a shredded Achilles. So, is he 100% Ronnie Stanley to start the season?
Yeah. I think there's a lot. They're going to pound the run, but I think we've seen this scheme. Like the Colin Kaepernick thing ran its course. And if Lamar Jackson's people do not take whatever the last best offer is from the Ravens and get him signed before this year, they will rue the day. That's
get the Josh Allen offer and go. We'll take this.
Oh, if you get the Josh Allen, if you get 90% of Josh Allen, if you get 75% of Josh Allen offer. Bank it. Bank it. And it's his mom that's negotiating for him. So if she gets a little emotional, not any agent can. I'm not saying it's because it's his mom or she's a woman. If she gets emotional, starts saying my son deserves more. At the end of the day, a guy who's largely based on his legs, you damn well better get that thing signed.
Adam always a voice of reason, or as you say, maybe a bit negative on the Raiders. Sarcasm here. Raiders linebackers are horrific. Shouldn't be a problem against the Baltimore run game.
Do you think NFL games are won and lost in the trenches?
I don't think the Raiders plan on playing.
Do you think the run game is what decides NFL games now?
Yeah, I don't think the Raiders are going to be relying on their linebackers in most of their defensive sets. So I think that's why they have 800 safeties and cornerbacks on the roster.
I think the Ravens ran up and down the field on the Chiefs and haven't beat them in like 5 years.
All right.
So I mean, like at the end of the day, the Raiders may lose, and the Ravens may run for 225. And if you want, you can grab the mic and be like, "See, I told you they ran all over the Raiders. They ain't losing because of 5.5 yards a carry. That's not why you lose games in the NFL anymore."
All right. Good jumping off point for the next time we're on next Wednesday. Lots more NFL, lots more future odds. Petro, I appreciate it. What do you got going on?
My pleasure.
What do you got going on the rest of the week? Oh, real quick. Do you want to discuss this or not? Or just?
Oh, yeah.
So, okay. So how was it? Pensacola trip.
Perdido Key. We want to
use slurs like redneck, so please don't do that.
You what?
I don't use slurs like redneck. Let's not be offensive.
Okay. Is that offensive or is that just like a term of endearment?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't care. That was sarcasm.
Listen, we went to Perdido Key, which is like the island in front of Pensacola or the, peninsula in front of Pensacola or whatever. Just to be clear, we weren't back in the, the town, right? It was fine. We had a nice condo, right? And looking at the ocean. That part of the Gulf, if anyone hadn't been down there, I mean, I recommended it. We drove home and we had some traffic issues and a long stop. Made it 12 hours, 45 minutes from Perdido Key to Kansas City. So it's drivable in a day. So if anybody in my neck of the woods is going there, the thing I would say is it's not the Caribbean blue water they're used to, because it's close enough to the Mississippi emptying out in New Orleans. It's more like Louisiana water than it is what you see for pictures of Florida. Like Florida tourism is always down on the peninsula or particularly the Atlantic side to show that perfect blue water. But so that is like, which is fine for swimming around, but there's some seaweed floating around. There's some, it's not the perfect ocean setup, but you're paying a lot less. So from that standpoint, Destin, I hear, is an absolute just mob of people. So I will say this. We had places to sit on the beach, which I appreciate. And so that was great. We had a good condo. So that was good. We actually rented jet skis on the lagoon side of things. That was a lot of fun. So yeah, we had no dead fish, no oil rigs. No, not quite that far. Not that close. Did not go to Floribama family trip, but it was right there. It was spitting distance. But yeah, good trip. 30 of us, my wife's whole family, 30. Everything went perfectly all the time, 24/7.
Smooth, copacetic. Everyone got along. Good.
There were no disasters. There were no Skip Bayless blow-ups.
I get to talk, and I may say even more coming up. You're not going to stop me. I get to speak just like you do. So funny.
My wife has a great family. So,
by the way, I will say, going back to that exchange, I think when you snap in a conversation like that, where you lose your cool, you actually, in some ways, are the loser. So, I hate
her or him.
Little of both. little of both. But the little, and we've all done it from time to time. The little explosion on the air, like I'm going to say what I want to say, and like you storm off to the break is like, you lost it a little bit there. They got you. They were twisting it, and you snapped. So
I will say that would be, like you said, not to re-rack it, but I think she's got more reason to finish that way, and I think she earns more points finishing that way. Strong female is not taking any shit. It's not a bad position to be in. And you're right, Skip Bayless, like he had to just fall on the grenade.
Yep.
And I think he'd have been better off just sitting there going, okay, as opposed to trying to be like, now,
or just turn off the camera and just be like.
If people don't know, Skip Bayless is like Mr. Workout guy, and he's completely obsessed with his appearance, and so like if Skip Bayless were doing this, if you see Skip Bayless around town, you see this.
Yeah,
I don't know if you can tell with the black collar, but he walks around with the golf shirt collar up, and then the sleeve on the golf shirt is like barely comes down over the shoulder type of thing. So
that's right. Yeah, his brother is a big chef, and they don't get along. I don't think unless they patch things up.
Stunning.
So what do you got going on this week? What's going on the rest of the week?
No idea, really. I'm just playing catch up all week, so I haven't even taken a look. Oh, I got to go to training camp tomorrow, so I'll be on the road to St. Joe in about like 7 hours. So I got that going for me. I'll be asking, some hard-hitting questions of Andy Reid and whatever players they bring back. That's going on. What do we have? What's tomorrow? Thursday? Stump the Chumps. We'll play Stump the Chumps. We will have Blair Kirchhoff, which a lot going on to talk college athletics with Blair Kirchhoff. And let me look at what does Jed put on the calendar. This is Jed's department. Jed's questions. We also have, who do we have? Blair. Oh, and Adam Teicher and David Lesky from Inside the Crown. So Royals talk in the 2, in the 3, Stump the Chumps, in the 4, Blair Kirchhoff, in the 5, Adam Teicher. And I will be up asking questions of Andy Reid and the Chiefs at St. Joe tomorrow. And I'm upset because I cannot get to meet up with my buddy Colonel Cluck at the 139th Airlift Wing in St. Joe, where the C-139 Hercules are based out of and fly all over the world because we're supposed to get breakfast or lunch one of the times I'm up there, and I can't do either tomorrow, so that sucks. But and then we're coming up, maybe Military Appreciation Day. I'll get up there. But always one of my favorites to get over to the Rosecrans Airport in St. Joe, which is also the home base for the 139th. Love those guys; they're phenomenal folks, and got to go up and fly with them. Steve, did I tell you about that? Yeah,
no.
In the cockpit for takeoff and landing, in the back where they did a practice airdrop out of the back. Where they roll stuff out the back. Very cool, incredible. Great,
and you fit in the plane. You're all good.
I don't climb up into the cockpit very well, okay. And I will tell you, those things are it's not an air conditioned, Yukon and Alley cockpit.
No,
it's the bare bones. It is a hot, those guys. I mean, they are truly warriors, and they're awesome. They're great people. Love talking to those guys, and it's phenomenal.
We have a really good connect here who flies F-16s, but I'm thinking Adam and I would both be banned from going anywhere near the actual plane, like climbing up into it.
I'm not getting in the fighder plane. I was worried they were going to be doing dips and things.
I don't think we'd be allowed in it, but our buddy Cameron has been on the podcast a couple times.
He flies F-16s.
Yes.
Yeah.
Incredible. Yeah.
We've also got Whiteman, where the stealth bombers come out of here, and I've been down on the tour at Whiteman as well.
That's cool. Let's see a couple of comments before we close out. I'm not sure which one it is. Let's see. What's it like to have a good producer who can book guests? And then Adam, upon hearing your guest rundown, said so. Basically, he was the highlight of the week on the show. All right. Well,
Adam was a big highlight.
Yeah.
He's big.
Adam's a good guest. He's a good guy.
I love how Adam, the guy, like as silver tongued as it gets, and then he comes on the radio and he goes all politically correct.
I figured that might be the case.
Do you find that on your show as well?
No.
Or is it just when he comes on as a guest with me?
He is actually different as a guest. When we bring him on the Raider stuff, sometimes. Well, I also I'm usually in a hurry. The whole show is about getting it over with, so we just sort of go. So, no, Adam. Actually, we had some good. Adam's actually been in consistently, for the first time in a while. And last week, he was shitting on me on several occasions. It was actually kind of fun.
Right.
So, okay. I rip on him all the time as a guy who thinks he's too smart for the fans and doesn't talk to fans and doesn't connect with the fans. And he found another issue where maybe I was missing out, that I was in a bubble and I wasn't connecting with the average fan. So he turned it on me and was snapping on me. It was pretty good.
So Adam, when he comes on and talks Raiders with us, Chiefs fans love him because he's so sour.
Yeah, of course.
They're like, oh my Lord. Like he comes on, he's like, no, they're not stopping anybody. That's not happening. So Adam's a great guest. Thank you. There you go.
He's a good guest.
He's very good. We don't book guys who suck. We might once. We don't book him again. You don't get to suck twice.
Oh, we do. I had that whole discussion behind the scenes today. I was like, remember this person and this person? Yeah, let's not.
You keep calling them?
Well, they're brought up again, like as if it's forgotten. And I'm like, no, I remember. They just were not that good. We're not that desperate. Come on, man. So, no, Ari does a good job.
Give me an example. Rhymes with?
You wouldn't know him. It was just, I don't want to say. We had a random NBA guy from Orlando who I don't really think is working anymore. And I said before the spot, I'm like, I don't really think he's working anymore. And then it was not a good spot. And then there was another, I don't know. We wanted to talk Trevor Lawrence, a #1 pick and all that stuff. And we got a Jaguars person who wasn't great. We struggle sometimes realizing that we do radio. And if we're not going to get a former athlete on to, who played on the team or, then you might want to just get another radio person because that they do what we do. So they're usually pretty good. Writers sometimes can be a little risky.
Okay. Fair point.
Yeah. It happens. God damn it. I had something else to say, but anyway. So tomorrow we're at Silver Sevens. So come out and see us. Silver Sevens, I think, I don't want to make it official. I think they're going to be introducing a crazy beer special for all football games. So that's going to be cool. And cool thing the next 2 days, we're going to have some hosts filling in, and they'll get a chance to